So we have a chicken house on our property that we actually want to use, but when we moved in it was full of just stuff. So Garth and I are going to clean that out today, and I wanted to just get a picture of what it looked like before and then what it's going to look like after we're done. So I'm walking over there now and I'll grab a photo. Here is the outside of the chicken house, and if I walk up closely you could see there's like a sink or something there. There's just a lot of stuff just kind of thrown in there. And if I go to this window, you can just see there's doors or windows or whatever. There's just a lot of stuff in here that we need to clean out. So I don't know if you could actually see inside, but actually, since you don't see anything other than a few things on the screen, that's good news, because earlier it was full of stuff. So it's one side, and then the other side. Had to be careful because we scooped out a bunch of dirt and it's still here on the outside. But nothing. Empty. Yeah, it's hard to see, but so we cleaned everything out, and we need to fix the roof and other things, but then at some point this can be a chicken house. So it has been a very physical day. Garth and I worked in the chicken house. Anything that he felt he wanted to save, we moved to the barn, and now I am digging up, well, I dug up today one of the old berry bushes that it just is not growing. I guess, I don't know if I bought the sticks and they already weren't doing well because they'd been in the grocery store for a while, or if I didn't do a good job here and I killed it. But now what I'm doing is also planting elderberry that I've had in pots, in jars, glass jars, in water, just trying to get the roots to grow. So let me just show you what I'm doing right now. So I actually have some straw here that came from the barn, and I'm adding some black soil that I find as well. But so here's some sticks, you know, down the line. It's going to be a little bit hard to see, but I dug up, and I've got another one in there. There's another one kind of over there. So it said to have them about 6 to 8 feet apart so they can also pollinate each other. So here's one, and then here's the hole that I just dug. I put in the black dirt, some of the straw, and I'm about to put the stick in there as well. So we'll see if I do any better with the elderberry. So anyway, I'm just still trying to learn all about gardening, and hopefully I'll have some success. So Garth and I did quite a bit of work yesterday. We wanted to pull a bathtub that we had found on the property, left here again by the prior owners' families, that it's probably been here for a very long time. But we're going to use that for a raised garden bed. So yesterday, Garth hooked up the bathtub to his truck and hauled it over to where we wanted, and then we used some, was it a pulley? Remember, he used a pulley to lift it up. We placed it on some blocks. It's not completely as secure as we'd like, so we left it on the straps holding it up just so it doesn't collapse. And then I'm gonna end up making a garden in that. So let me show you what we have so far. Okay, so there is the bathtub, and it was quite heavy. So like I said, we used the truck to do a lot of the work, and we just pulled it from down below. It was actually kind of behind that tool shed over there, so We had to drag it up and then lift it. So again, for now, we just found these blocks kind of around the property. We put it underneath, but because we're not quite sure if it's going to be secure enough just on those blocks, we've got them still strapped. But in the meantime, I'll go ahead and start, filling in the tub and planting the seeds that I have downstairs. I don't think that the seeds that are in the aeroponics, a lot of them are going to survive. I think we've just waited too many weeks for me to transplant them, but because I didn't have the garden here, ready to go, the raised garden bed, I just wasn't able to transplant them. So we'll see, what does. I think in the meantime, I may go ahead and sprout some seeds again, like I did before, in the mason jars, and then also plant those and see what happens. But anyway, it's a learning experience. So I spent about 5 hours outside this morning. I planted a few more elderberry bushes. I also got some stuff put into that bathtub to start the raised garden. So I was, lugging pieces of wood and cardboard, and I put in some pine cones, got let's see, I think now that we have our rabbits, I actually got some of their litter and put it in there. And then Garth needs to go in and get a hose. Right now, the hose that I was trying to use to spray the compost today just didn't have a lot of water pressure, and it didn't actually reach. So I was actually filling a bucket and then pouring the bucket over the compost. So he's going to get another extension on the hose, so I'll be able to reach all the way. And then we are going to go purchase a wheelbarrow for me to be able to move around the dirt that I'll be using for the garden and some other things. So that's what's happening today. Okay, so we're home from our errand, and we did pick up potting soil as well as the wheelbarrow. And so you can see behind me, we filled the bathtub with that soil, and now I'm going to grab the seeds that we had sprouted a while ago and then had in the aeroponics. I'm not sure they're all going to really survive. I think I waited too long to transplant, but I had to wait for Garth to help me move this tub and get everything filled. But we'll see what happens. Okay, so far I have planted the asparagus, and then these 3 plants were the second in my plastic here. So it looks like the first row doesn't look like I'm going to be able to plant that, and a lot of them it looks like they fell out of the hole. So the next row is what I just planted. Again, it looks like I'm going to have to skip quite a few rows here, so I'm not sure exactly which ones these are. It looks like it might be one of the hot peppers, but I'm not quite sure. So I'm going to plant those next. Below kind of these that I had here from the top row, maybe just down kind of right in here, and hopefully we'll be able to go back and see what they were. Okay, actually I guess it should be this way. So I planted here underneath that next row, and we had a few more. It looks like maybe we had 2 rows of those same seeds. So I planted a couple more here. So we do have a bunch of space up above that I will select from the next type of seeds. So I think we'll go with these that are right here. Again, I'm not sure what they are, I don't remember, but maybe another pepper. And I'll plant those and hopefully go back and remember what they were. Okay, 2 more seeds that I planted here were from the spaghetti squash. I think everything else seemed to have been too wet and rotted, even though they were looking good when I came back from New York. Since I didn't have this bed of ready to go, it stayed down there, I believe, too long. The aeroponics just, I think, sprayed it too much, too often. So I'm going to start with the mason jars again and start seeds again, and then I'll plant those out here in another week or so once I see that they're sprouting, and I'll put them in the aeroponics maybe for a couple days, because that really did help. But anyway, so here's what I have: spaghetti squash, and again I think I've got some hot peppers here, and asparagus. Just wanted to grab a quick update on my raised bed garden. As you can see, cabbage is doing really well, And I believe those are the cucumber plants. And then we've got some little green sprouts down here. We've got one kind of over there, right there, and right there. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some more because I've got some other things planted too. But so far, so good. So I am pretty sure this should not be happening in our compost or worm bin. I know sometimes I was reading compost should be really hot, and if it's hot, the worms wouldn't survive. But anyway, I think I threw some green bean ends when I was cutting off, the tips of the beans. So maybe that's what's growing in here. But since I'm not that great at growing, and this is actually growing on its own, I'm just leaving it and seeing what happens for now. But anyway, that's what's happening over here by the compost. So I'm outside getting some plants watered and getting the cage moved for putting the rabbits in so they can spend the day out here in the grass. But I also realized I hadn't updated on my berry bushes or on the elderberry bushes. So the berry bushes I had planted a blackberry bush, 3 blueberry bushes, and a raspberry bush. And of course we bought them looking like sticks from the grocery store. And I had planted them, and they just never really did anything. They still look like sticks. I think they're dead. So I don't know if I didn't water enough, or if it was because the ground was kind of too much clay, or like what the situation was. So I started to pull out the berry bushes on Sunday, but the rain started coming down pretty heavily, so I stopped. But in the meantime, I'd pulled one out, and then I planted 3 elderberry bushes that had lots of roots growing. So finally, we have roots growing on the elderberry bushes. So I planted 3 the other day, and again, it had started raining, so I stopped, and I will probably pull up the rest of the berry bushes this weekend and plant the elderberry that have roots. But let me see if I could pull one of those and show you what I have. Okay, so here's one I haven't yet planted, but you can see, yay, we're getting roots now, long roots to grow. So I had kept them, most of them actually indoors in the aquaponics that Garth had made, and it seemed like that didn't work as well for some of them that to get the roots going. A lot of the sticks that were down there still don't really have a lot of roots, but I had pulled a few of the bigger ones and put them back out here in the jar in the sun, and those had really started to grow roots. So those are the 3 I planted the other day. Again, there's a few more here that have quite a few roots. There's some that don't really have many yet. I'm going to leave them in the water in the jar and see if in the water in the sun those will start to develop, or maybe those just aren't going to end up growing the roots. But that's the process so far where we are.